Link engaged.
Okay, so we do have Straylock as the blue Terran dropping in at the 6 o'clock position, and the teal Zerg is Morrow at the 9 o'clock position. You ever played either of these guys, Orb? You know anything about them?
I have not played against them, no.
Well, I can tell you that Straylock has a fantastic, long, beautiful Brood War career. He's one of the top Ukrainian Terrans. He's actually opted to stick with that same race here in StarCraft 2. And then Morrow kind of made headway at the end of the Brood War lifespan for the Foreigners. I mean, I know there's a lot of people that are still very dedicated to Brood War, so I don't want to step on their toes too hard, but Morrow actually made big waves by doing really well in the TSL Team Liquid tournament. So both these guys have a bit of a Brood War background, but I'm going to shut the heck up because this depot is really weird.
Yeah, that is a really odd placement down at the bottom of the ramp there. You want to talk about why he might be doing this? Possibly to wall off at the bottom of his ramp?
Yeah, you know, I've seen a couple guys do this, and I think what it does is he's going to put the barracks right next to that depot, and it actually effectively blocks off all information above that ramp. And he also does it pretty quick, so he's not blocked in. Obviously, the depot can drop down, but the Zerg has no idea. There's no way to poke up that ramp and see additional barracks or a command center, so it's going to be down to the Overlord scouting. And if the Overlord can't get into position because of patrolling Marines, then he's sort of out of luck. And that's a really tough spot to be in for Zerg, because pretty much you have to know what they're doing so that you can either make more lings, spine crawlers, or something, or macro up, because that's what the Terran's doing.
Yeah, he's of course going to have to, sacrifice Overlords to get that kind of information as opposed to being able to walk a drone into his base.
Yep. So, I mean, the game is just proceeding a little bit as normal. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, we do have a hatchery already going down for Morrow here, and there goes the pool right after it. So definitely going for an early expansion build. What do you think about these spawns, how it might affect how this is going to play out?
Well, Straylock is doing, I don't know if it's necessarily a late scout, but it's not the fastest scout. So he's actually going to get to the Zerg base last, which gives Morrow's opening, I would say, the most chance of success. I mean, a lot of these Zergs are complaining lately about the double barracks, Marine SCV all in, and just how strong it is. And if Straylock is opting to do that, which I'm going to say is not, because he's already mining his gas, and he has a tech lab.
He's already getting a tech lab, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not even going to go down that road, because apparently it's not even possible.
All right, first extractor coming up now for Morrow. So obviously, the extractor not going down while the spawning pool is building is not going to be going for a really quick speed. What tack path do you think he might be going for at this point? You think he might just blindly go up to something like Banelings to defend, or you think he might go quicker for Roaches to defend against Hellions?
Well, I think it's essential for Zergs these days to get that faster Baneling nest. Now, whether or not that's as the lair started or after metabolic boost, I'll kind of wait and see. I think it largely in part has to do with what the Terran's opening. So if we do get some scouting Zerglings over here, I think he'll see a pretty aggressive expansion going down. And we do see how actually that barracks functions as a partial wall. So I really like the placement of these buildings because they have multiple functions and they're doing quite well. But we do have 3 Marines and SV moving out, and the Overlord has spotted them.
Yeah, it creates that really nice choke at the bottom of the Terran base that is definitely going to be really helpful to defend, although it does leave it open for Baneling harass. Here comes these Marines, do a little bit of harassment here, just a little bit of aggression. You always want to keep pressure on your Zerg opponent because if they're allowed to just sit back and create drones all the time, their macro will simply overpower anything you can do. So Straylock definitely just trying to put on as much pressure as possible and keep his opponent on his toes, I think.
Yep, and we do have Morrow opting for that metabolic boost upgrade first, so what that essentially means is he will have a slightly delayed lair and obviously tech, but he will have defensible lings, like slow lings, very easy to manage with microed Marines or other units, but speedlings are a different caliber of Zergling. They're very tough to deal with, so good strong defense opening, opting for the safer play. Now we see that lair morphing in. So I really like Morrow's opening. I think that's quite strong, and I actually really like Straylock's opening. So this is actually shaping up to be quite a fun game.
Yeah, I'm surprised this Zergling we see from Morrow was actually the first time he scouted besides that Overlord that was in Straylock's base. So he's just now seeing that Straylock has expanded. He's going to have to react to this. What do you think the best course of action would be from Zerg at this point? Do you think he should just expand immediately, or should he try to build up some kind of just a huge amount of drones just to overpower him off 2 bases?
I'm going to go with door number 2, the one you just listed at the end there. I really like Zerg really playing greedy, and we see kind of Morrow doing that. Like, okay, no threat now. I'm going to exist off of 4 lings. And a lot of people would look at that and lower, bronze, platinum, or whatever, and they'd be like, well, that doesn't make sense. He could die at any moment. Actually, Zerg produces so fast that it's much smarter to try to get as much of your economy going as you possibly can, and then fall back on units at the last possible moment. I mean, obviously it's got to start a little bit before their attack moves out, but if you can push the limit with your macro, I find that style to be quite strong, and that's actually what great players like Idra, Rhett, Team Liquid Red, those guys, that's what they really try to do.
I was just about to say, that's really the style that we often see Idra do, is that people see him about to die to an attack and they think he's lost for sure, and then his amazing macro kicks in and he just brings out all these units right at the last possible moment and barely saves an expansion. And I think that's really the best on a Zerg style.
Yeah, I mean, there's actually a lot of Zerglings coming out. We do have Baneling speed being upgraded. I kind of feel like there might be a mid-game Baneling bust. I really like this play because it doesn't have to win you the game to be cost effective. I actually really like the positioning of Straylock's buildings. It's very much so in a defensible place for all of that. With the barracks in front, they can absorb a lot of Banelings. However, if just some of those Banelings either get at the orbital command or the SCVs within, they can cause a lot of harm. Or perhaps it's just a defensive force and I'm existing in the fake world of imaginary land.
He is up to quad gas now, though. So I'm trying to look for... oh, there it is. A Spire gets dropped down at the natural, right next to that evolution chamber. So I was wondering what he was planning on using all this gas for that he's mining up. So now we know it's probably going to be going for this this Mutila's Caress.
Yeah, you just need a surplus of gas to kind of preempt the Mutatech. Kind of an evolution in Zerg plays. It used to be like you'd get 9 or 10 Mutas and harass with that as like an isolated tech pattern, but Idra actually popularized in MLG kind of continuously producing those Mutas, because if you have the Magic Box Micro, if you have the ability to control that stuff, you can take on Thors.
Yeah, Thors become useless.
As I say that, the Terran army is crawling across the map. We have 4 Marauders and a gaggle of Marines. They will be breaching the creep, but this well-placed Overlords is spotting it the whole long ways.
Here come a lot of Banelings coming from the top. Zerglings coming from right behind the surround. Very nice placement.
Yep.
Oh, army getting demolished.
The Banelings are detonating all over the place. Holy cow.
Another Terran army comes in from the back, but he's going to need to split these up. Banelings are doing a ton of damage right now. Need to see some Foxer micro there. Wow, Terran lost almost his entire army.
Yeah, I mean, that was, to be honest, that was pretty sloppy from Straylock. Like, not even a scan, no scouting SCV, nothing. If there was a scan, I didn't see it, so I apologize. But I'm basically not a lot of scouting. I mean, if you drop any kind of information on, okay, the guy's got a shit ton of Banelings with speed on creep and Zerglings, I'm going to attack with my Marines and Marauders. I think that's a great situation. I don't think Straylock makes that choice, so I would have liked to have seen better information on his side of things.
Yeah, and I think we really have to put Morrow at quite an advantage at this point, because now that Straylock lost that entire army, he lost a lot of his pushing power, and now Morrow has a third base up and running, and he's also taking a fourth, so he feels, I think, really confident in this game after taking out that army.
Yeah, I'm just like absolutely in love with Straylock's build. I mean, all the placement, it just looks so neat and pretty. You know, everything, it's got its own little place. He's very safe, good positioning, double E-base for his upgrades. It's just that little bit of a silly attack, but if there is a way for him to get back in this game, it is going to be with drops. And we do have the
really
medevacs
like to see
loading
this
up
drop
right now.
play. I think
Zergs.
medevac play is one of the things that really makes Terran strong in this game. It's so much better than it was in Brood War with the, healing, not having to bring medics and just healing as it is. And I think it's a little bit underused at the moment. But here comes the Baneling. Morrow completely prepared. Attack does absolutely no damage. Strelok, oh, you might lose these medevacs to Mutas as well. That has got to hurt.
Yeah, that hurts. I mean, that's a losing game getting worse. The dropship does go down with about half its load still inside, crashing to the earth and debris. But man, if you're a Zerg player and you're watching Morrow's play, this is textbook strong and safe play. Look at that Overlord circumference around his base where he's able to get that extra 2 or 3 second spots on drops like that. So key. And meanwhile, he's just now starting to unleash his army, transferring over to that 4th. I mean, he made the transition from Terran. He was one of the best Terrans on the planet not too long ago. Now it looks like he's actually quite a strong Zerg. Morrow is a very good player.
Yeah, absolutely. He's clearly been keeping up with his macro. If we look at these different bases, we can see all 4 bases are fairly well saturated. The 4th is getting a little bit less as he's building a ton of spine crawlers. But clearly he's been keeping up very nice drone production while also making this gigantic army. Here comes an attack with his Mutalisk at the Terran main, killing off these missile turrets relatively quickly. Terran army just now starting to move back to his base to defend.
Yeah, you know, that turret wall usually acts as a huge deterrent, but Morrow didn't get that memo, so he's actually brought it entirely down, forcing the Terran army to come back in, and I assume he's going to have to rebuild those missile turrets, but I'll tell you what, on 2 bases, each and every one of those missile turrets is so costly, while for Morrow, sitting on 4 bases with roaring economy, great saturation, he can kind of laugh at that. I mean, every time he loses a Mutalisk, at this point, it's pretty disposable. And it's not so much so for our Terran players. So great exchange by Morrow, making the Terran player have to stay close to home. He actually did stim as well, which is going to soak up the energy from his medevacs. I'm just loving the play.
Yeah, and I mean, Straylock, if you look at the income tab, you can really see it. It's a little bit different now since he's transferring SCVs, but it was at about 1,100 to 2,600, and that really just says like how much of a disadvantage Straylock is in. He really needs to pull off something amazing right now if he wants to come back and win this game.
Yeah, and I mean, look at conversely the information that Morrow's getting. Zergling there right away to spot if that expansion's being taken, but every single base is occupied by a Zergling or an Overlord. I'll tell you what, Morrow might lose games, but it's not because someone hid an expansion on him, and I love that play. But as I say, the Zerglings are moving in. Mutalisk over the top, and Baneling's in the back. Here comes the surround. Oh, the Marines stim out of the way. Baneling's going for the orbital, or the Splinter. Fortress does go down. Wow.
Wow, this army is just... he actually lost most of the Zerg army, but that's mostly just to using all the Banelings on the command center, and he did take it out. He basically just did the job he went in to do. He stopped that expansion, killed it off, and now it's back to 4 base versus 2 base.
Oh, there's a drop at the Zerg main. Orb! Big drop. Not a lot of Banelings there. This is actually the perfect timing. If there's going to be any success, it's got to be now. No micro! Oh, the Banelings blowing up, and the Marines coming back out, but it's probably too little too late. We do see that there is
does still have some Marines left. He could go out and try to take out some tech buildings.
Look at how safe Morrow plays. So there's spine crawlers already in place. He's able to rally more units in there. They do get the surround on those Marines. I anticipate this will get cleaned up, and then the Mutalisks are going to punish this drop. They should get a medevac or 2. Actually, he kind of gives up on a little bit of a sloppy play there.
It looks like Straylock is actually moving his army up towards the 12 o'clock base. If we look at his vision, he has not seen any of these bases, but he must assume by now that the Zerg must have a large number of expansions. But it actually looks like he's moving back. Maybe he's just getting reinforcements, but I don't know if this is such a wise idea to move out with his army.
Set up into that Xel'Naga tower as well. I mean, this is actually some of the most impressive Zerg play I've seen in a long time. Look at all over the map. There's Baneling bombs set up everywhere. Holy cow. And here he goes. Is he going to go up the tower? No! For one, Straylock's misinformation actually helps him.
There goes the scan. Sees some Zerglings there. But he does not see the army above him. A lot of Banelings, a lot of Zerglings, and Mutalisks. We're going to see a flank from the bottom. Very good positioning from Morrow. This could be devastating for Straylock here. There comes the army from three sides.
Multi-pronged attack. Baneling's going off on the Marines. They're all clustered together. Oh! And yes, the Marines are all going to go down. And so does the rest of Straylock's army. And probably with it his hopes and dreams of winning Game 1 on Metalopolis. But there is still some fight in him. We do have tanks now massing out. Tanks are fantastic against those Banelings. If he does want to have a chance, it's got to happen soon. But you know what? It's going to happen with tanks and Marines. I mean, if you have good army control, that's where it starts to begin.
Yeah, I think it's really tough from the Terran player's position right here because you have to deal with the Mutalisks, and with the Magic Box Micro, you can't deal with them with Thors, and Marines just get destroyed by Banelings. So, I mean, without going to Vikings, it's really difficult
little mini drop going on at the Zerg main. It was at the natural, but very ineffective. I mean, I think the tally is now up to, like, 6 battles won by Zerg, 0 by Terran. I mean, this is it's been a bit of a beatdown from beginning to end. Well, maybe not the end. Maybe not the end, Orb. I don't know. I can't presume to know that information, but it's not looking good. That's for sure.
Yeah, Amaro is just building up a gigantic army right now. I feel like he's just building up the army to go kill his opponent. He's just going to try to do one final attack to end it all. But instead, Straylock says, that's my game. That's what I do. He's just going to move out with his
Oh, the
army.
mines, the bombs! Yes!
Oh.
Oh, I
Yeah,
love that. And
beautiful
that's going to
Baneling
send him
bomb
back
right
home.
there. Yeah, with no detection, he moves back home. He is on 3 base right now, but it is 3 base versus 5 base. He does not know this, but I can't believe he's just being so so passive at this moment, moving back. He knows he
Yeah.
can't detect those Baneling bombs, but
Well,
still
I think
sitting around.
he's on his last legs. I mean, what can he do? You know, he's going to try to turtle out, maybe take a 4th base and really just kind of absorb the Zerg attacks. He's been aggressive all game long, and it hasn't been effective. The Zerg's just absorbed attack after attack. But here's another quick note I want to make before this. Well, they're not going to give me time. Maybe they will. Nope. Yeah, okay. So I really like that Morrow actually surrounds almost all his bases with spine crawlers. A Zerg max army doesn't look that big, but if you surround him with spine crawlers, that's just extra stack defense that allows your supply to look a little bit more robust. But as I say that,
Here comes the attack. No flanks this time from Morrow. These tanks in the back are going to do quite a lot of damage along with the Planetary Fortress. Wow, just taking out the Planetary Fortress and moving back again. I don't think that was a smart idea, actually, sacrificing that large of an army just to take out 1 base.
You know, at this point, anything Morrow does looks economic. I mean, if you look at the army tab, he's already maxed out again, dude. Boom. And it's actually going to be just a crap ton of the same thing.
Look at the units streaming out of his bases to the middle of the map. There is the stacked up larva just making his entire army again. Here comes a whole lot of infestors, gonna drop some fungal growths on this army, doing quite a lot of damage, taking a lot of this medevac energy and health.
Yeah, I mean, every army, he's already banked 4K, 1K, you know, so after this army goes away too, he'll have another one almost instantaneously. Yeah, he just like lost infestors to greedy fungal growth, and you know what? Who cares? He's got more coming, baby. Not a problem.
Yeah, it's true. And you know, I like the infestor choice. Just hard powering Zergling Baneling. You know, it's always nice to see some spellcasters in there to just try to. I think on a large army, it really makes that much of a difference. Wow, look at that fungal growth hitting almost every single Marine.
Oh wow, and that does so much damage. It does 35 damage to guys with 55 health. I mean, that's a good percentage.
Very devastating, and you can take away all this medevac energy. Broodlords coming out, doing damage right here. We do have 3 Thors. I don't think we'll be able to take care of these, though they are getting decimated right now by these Broodlings. And mostly actually by friendly fire from the siege tanks from the Broodlings.
Yep. Oh! All the Marines going down to friendly fire. Holy crap!
And here comes the army to finish it off. More tanks in the back, but so much from the Zerg just coming in and attacking right now. And he still has all these Broodlords left.
Yep, and these Broodlords are actually working against that tank tech choice at this point. Every time they're siege, they're actually doing more harm. Oh. Game 1 does go to mouzMorrow, playing against his teammate. I guess we should have mentioned that too, mouzStrelok. So, obviously here in the late stages of this tournament, we have 2 Mouse players clashing each other, which is obviously unfortunate, but also at the same time a tribute to how strong that team is. I mean, 2 very good players in the late stages here.
Yeah, absolutely. Getting to the semifinals.